Have you ever woken up in the morning with a heavy feeling in your chest, even though there's no clear reason why? Maybe you found yourself staring out the window, watching the world move, but feeling somehow separate from it. These quiet moments can be hard to explain, especially if you've spent your life being the strong one for others. But here's the thing, just because no one sees the storm doesn't mean it isn't there. And you're not alone if you've been feeling this way. Mental health is something that affects everyone, no matter how old we are. It's not just about being happy all the time or avoiding sadness. It's about understanding how our emotions work, how our thoughts shape our days, and how we can take care of ourselves on the inside just as much as we do on the outside. In fact, taking care of your mental well-being can be just as important as eating healthy or staying physically active, especially as we get older. As we age, life changes in big and small ways. You might be adjusting to retirement, missing the structure of work, or finding new routines. Some days, the silence at home feels peaceful, and on others, it feels too loud to bear. Friends move away, loved ones pass on, and the world starts to feel a bit different than it used to. It's okay to feel disoriented by all of that. These are big shifts, and they can have a real impact on our emotional balance. But the good news is that there are things we can do, gentle steps we can take to feel more centered and at peace. One of the most powerful things you can do is to allow yourself to feel your emotions without guilt. Sometimes we're taught to brush things off, to keep moving, to not dwell. But the truth is, every feeling you have is valid. Sadness, joy, frustration, calm, they're all part of being human. When you give yourself permission to feel without judgment, you create space for healing. You begin to understand what your heart is really trying to say, and that's where real strength begins. Another part of mental wellness is keeping your mind engaged in ways that bring you meaning. You don't need to solve a crossword puzzle every day to stay mentally healthy, though if you love them, keep going. But even small things like learning a new recipe, picking up a memoir from someone you admire, or writing down memories from your childhood can help your brain stay active. It's not about keeping busy for the sake of it. It's about feeding your spirit with things that spark your curiosity and remind you of your purpose. And let's talk about connection. One of the hardest challenges for many older adults is feeling isolated. Maybe your phone doesn't ring as often. Maybe visits are fewer and far between. But connection doesn't have to mean a full house or a calendar packed with social plans. Sometimes it's about reaching out to a neighbor just to say hello. Sometimes it's as simple as chatting with a cashier at the grocery store or sending a note to someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Those small interactions can be surprisingly powerful. They remind us that we still belong, that we still matter, and that our presence has meaning. Sometimes, though, you might feel like you're doing everything you can and still feel low. And that's when talking to someone, a counselor, a doctor, or even a trusted friend, can be incredibly helpful. It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. In fact, it's one of the bravest and most self-loving things you can do. Just like we go to the doctor for aches and pains in our body, it's okay to seek support when your mind and heart are hurting too. Taking care of your mental health doesn't have to be complicated. It starts with listening to yourself, being honest about how you're doing, and treating yourself with the same kindness you give to someone you love. You've lived through decades of experiences, lessons, and emotions. That's not just resilience, it's wisdom. And that wisdom includes knowing when to pause, reflect, and care for your emotional needs. So let's start this conversation not with shame, but with openness. Not with fear, but with hope. There is no age limit on mental well-being. And no matter where you are in your journey, there's always a next step forward, one that feels peaceful, empowering, and right for you. Now that we've talked about opening the door to this kind of self-awareness and care, let's gently move into some of the ways you can build a stronger emotional foundation in your daily life. Sometimes the most meaningful changes begin with the smallest moments. A quiet walk in the morning light, the smell of your favorite tea brewing, or a memory that brings a gentle smile instead of a sharp ache. These moments aren't just pleasant. They can serve as anchors, helping you stay grounded when emotions feel unpredictable. And grounding yourself doesn't always require deep breathing or meditation, though those can be wonderful too. It might simply mean becoming more aware of how your surroundings affect your mood, what calms you, what overwhelms you, what feels just right. Think about the spaces you spend your time in. Are they comforting, or do they stir up unease? Mental well-being often begins with the environments we create. Surrounding yourself with familiar and meaningful things, a family photo, a soft blanket, a favorite chair, can create a kind of emotional safety net. When your environment feels nurturing, it becomes easier to sort through your thoughts without feeling overwhelmed by them. It's not about filling your space with stuff. It's about creating an atmosphere that says, you are safe here. You are valued here. Music can also be a powerful tool. A song from your youth, a melody that brings a sense of peace, even soft instrumental music in the background, these can shift your internal rhythm. There's something about music that speaks directly to the emotional part of us, bypassing the mind and reaching the heart. It can lift, soothe, energize, or release. If you haven't listened to your favorite songs in a while, dust them off and let them play. Sing along, even if your voice isn't what it used to be. The joy isn't in perfection, it's in the feeling. Then there's the act of speaking kindly to yourself. It might sound odd at first, but self-talk is powerful. What you say in your own mind matters. If you find yourself thinking, I'm not good enough or it's too late for me, gently interrupt that voice. Replace it with something more compassionate like, I've done my best or I'm learning and that's enough. You don't have to believe it right away. But the more often you hear kindness from yourself, the more naturally it will come. Something else that often goes unspoken is how deeply past experiences can affect mental health, even decades later. You might have gone through things when you were younger that you brushed aside out of necessity, loss, trauma, disappointment. And now, in the quiet of later years, those feelings may resurface. It's not weakness. It's your mind offering a chance to make peace. If something from your past keeps nudging at you, give yourself permission to look at it with gentle curiosity. Writing it down can help, even if no one else ever sees it. Letting the feelings move through you, instead of keeping them locked away, can be a form of release. A key part of this journey is recognizing that mental wellness is not about having a perfect emotional state all the time. It's about learning how to navigate your thoughts and feelings in ways that support your overall well-being. There's no shame in having down days. There's no need to hide the tears that come out of nowhere. There's nothing wrong with needing more rest, more quiet, or more understanding. You've earned the right to take care of your mind with the same love and attention you give to your body. There's also something deeply healing about creating something with your hands. Whether it's a bit of knitting, painting a landscape, potting a small plant, or organizing photos into an album, creative tasks offer a sense of purpose and presence. When your hands are busy making something beautiful or meaningful, it gives your mind a break from spiraling thoughts. You enter a state where time slows down and all that matters is the moment you're in. It doesn't have to be grand or impressive. The value is in the doing, not the result. And sometimes what your heart needs most is to be of service to someone else. Reaching out to others, even in simple ways, can lift your spirits more than you expect. It might be calling someone who lives alone, writing a letter to an old friend, or offering to help with a local event or charity. Being needed, being appreciated, feeling like your presence matters. These aren't small things. They're fuel for the soul. They remind you that you still have so much to give, and that giving brings a special kind of joy that receiving alone cannot match. Your emotional health doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's connected to your habits, your relationships, your surroundings, and your past. When you start to care for each part with intention, something beautiful happens. You begin to feel more balanced, more steady, and more at ease with yourself. That doesn't mean every day will be easy, but it does mean you'll have the tools to meet each day with more grace, more clarity, and more peace. Let's continue moving forward with that in mind. You might not always notice it, but the way you talk to others can reflect how you're feeling inside. Sometimes, when we're overwhelmed or emotionally worn down, our patience thins, our smiles fade, and we withdraw without meaning to. These shifts are not failures. They're signals. They're your inner world trying to tell you something needs attention, just like a flickering light warns you to check the bulb. So, instead of brushing those signals aside, try listening. Ask yourself what you might need. It could be rest. It could be reassurance. Or maybe it's simply a moment to pause and breathe without rushing into anything else. There's a certain kind of strength in admitting when you're not okay. It doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're brave enough to be honest. And honesty with yourself is often the first step toward feeling better. If you ever feel like you're carrying too much on your own, remind yourself that seeking help doesn't take away your independence. It adds support to your foundation. Whether it's speaking with a trusted friend or asking your doctor about local resources, opening up can lead to possibilities you didn't know were there. There's a quiet comfort in knowing that you're not the only one who's ever felt uncertain, down, or stuck in a fog. Sometimes it helps to hear someone else say, "Yes, I've been there too." That kind of connection creates something powerful, a sense of being seen and understood. And you never know who might feel encouraged just by hearing your story. When you speak from the heart, it gives others permission to do the same. That kind of honesty is healing for everyone involved. Laughter, even in the smallest doses, can make a world of difference. There's something beautiful about the way humor lightens the air around us. Maybe it's an old comedy, a shared inside joke, or a funny memory that resurfaces when you least expect it. Let yourself enjoy those moments. They don't need to be deep or profound. A chuckle can be enough to loosen a heavy feeling and remind you that joy still lives here. You're allowed to enjoy life even when things feel uncertain. That's not ignoring reality, it's balancing it. It's easy to get caught up in doing everything the right way. You might read something that says you need to meditate for 30 minutes, walk a mile a day, or eat only certain foods. And while those habits may be helpful, the truth is that mental well-being doesn't come from perfection. It comes from consistency, gentleness, and flexibility. It's about choosing what works for you, not what someone else insists is best. If walking to the mailbox gives you a moment of peace, that's valuable. If chatting with your plants makes you smile, that matters. It's all about building a rhythm that suits your life, not forcing someone else's blueprint onto your own. We all face moments where we wonder what comes next. When you've already lived through decades of change, loss, learning, and growth, it's natural to reflect on the path behind you. But that reflection doesn't mean your story is finished. There are still pages left to write, and how you fill them is entirely up to you. Mental health in later life is about more than coping. It's about rediscovering joy, uncovering purpose, and remembering that who you are continues to evolve. You're still becoming, still learning, still capable of wonder. Let's not forget how much value there is in the little victories. Waking up with hope, making a healthy choice, saying no when something doesn't feel right, saying yes when opportunity knocks. These are all signs of growth, even if they go unnoticed by the world. Your healing journey is not measured by big leaps, but by steady steps, taken with care and courage. And finally, know this: you are not broken. You are human. You are layered, complex, emotional, resilient, and worthy of compassion, not just from others, but from yourself. No matter what you've experienced, what you've overcome, or what you still struggle with, you are still here. And that matters more than you may realize. Take pride in your strength, not because you've pushed through, but because you've chosen to stay open. That takes incredible courage. Whether you find peace through journaling, connection, quiet walks, shared stories, or simply by learning to sit with your feelings, remember that there is no single path to emotional health. There's only your path, and you're walking it one day at a time with more wisdom than ever before. If this message resonates with you, know that you're not alone. So many others are walking this same road, searching for peace, clarity, and joy. Together, by supporting one another, by sharing these conversations, and by being gentle with ourselves, we can make these later years not just full, but deeply fulfilling. Here's to you, your journey, and the courage it takes to keep going. You're doing better than you think.